Hello, friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers. And this is something I'm kind of excited about today because we are taking a look at DX9's Supreme Leader Mightron. And it's important to make that Supreme Leader designation because regular old Mightron is a lot smaller than this. So, yeah. This is kind of a big deal for me because I have never, ever, at any point in my life, owned a Megatron that transformed into traditional Megatron, into Megatron's traditional alt mode. I've only ever owned a Megatron that turns into like a tanker truck and tanks, various forms of tanks, that kind of thing. This is the very first Megatron that I've owned that actually turns into a gun. It's the very first masterpiece Megatron of any kind I've ever owned, third party or otherwise. And it's probably going to be the only one that I own because I'm not too fond of the way the Takara masterpiece Megatron looks, to be honest. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We are here to look at Mightron, and this is really cool. And it kind of bothers me that this is really cool because this is a toy that I would love to play with more often. Like, sometimes I bring figures to work, to the day job, and just, mess around with them in my spare time because I'm a giant man baby. And this is not something I can bring to work because if someone sees this, they're going to think it's actually a gun. Because, I mean, look at this thing. Yeah, there are some obvious panel lines on it and stuff, but only when you're looking at it. If you were to look at this real quick without like really glancing at it, there is a good chance you'd think this was an actual gun, which is impressive, but also means that I can't really, I can't take this anywhere. I pretty much, I could, as long as I don't transform him anyway, I could keep him in his robot mode, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is very impressive, I have to say. I am not a gun guy, so I couldn't tell you what kind of gun this is supposed to be, other than just that it's a handgun. I couldn't tell you how accurate it is to the actual gun. But it's really impressive. I'm gonna keep saying that. The grip does seem a bit on the large side, which, I mean, I'm sure it's just because of transformation, but it's a little big even for my hands, and my hands aren't tiny. I mean, they're not, basketball player huge, but it feels a little big. But at the same time, I'm kind of okay with that. It's also, I'm surprised at just how few panel lines there are on Mightron here. Like, there are panels, obviously, like you can see, especially in the grip and up here. But ultimately, the gun mode is a lot cleaner than what I've seen from a lot of the other third-party offerings and the official offering. Yeah. One thing that I do think is kind of interesting is how you've got I'm assuming this is the safety up here that does actually move. A little bit anyway. This, whatever this is, maybe that's the safety, I don't know. And this, I don't know why there would be some kind of weird loop here that looks like you're supposed to attach like a Wii remote strap to. But these three things here mean that if you want to put it down like on a table, putting it down like this is kind of weird because it's like all wobbly because of those 3 points on it. So laying it down on this side is much better. But I'm sure that that lopsidedness is actually a part of the actual gun's design, I would think. I don't know, it's weird. I can't really comment too much on this because I'm not a gun guy at all. But, I mean, it's a great looking thing. It's convincing looking. It's got the nice black grip, nice silver for the rest of it, and the scope. It looks good for what it is. I mean, again, there are panels and stuff, but it hides a lot of the robot stuff very well. and the red back here kind of breaks it up a little bit, but what can you do? I also have to say I'm pretty impressed with this guy's transformation, but that is not what we're talking about. We're talking pure aesthetics. Now, in case anyone was wondering, he doesn't have an orange cap in the barrel like a lot of these Megatron toys tend to do. What they did was they actually put like an orange sticker around the barrel with like a little purple plug. Just kind of close it in there. So it was actually a really simple matter of just popping out the plug. It wasn't like glued in or anything like that. Just pop out the plug and then just carefully peel away the orange sticker. And then you have this. And it is kind of a shame looking at this now. You can see that the details on the barrel itself and the paint just seems a little bit fuzzy. Like it's just not as sharp. Because, I mean, you compare this area here where it's a little bit, it just doesn't look quite as, the lines don't look quite as harsh or anything like that, to elsewhere on the gun mode, and it just, like, the details are a lot finer. The grooves are a bit more groovy, so to speak. But at the same time, this whole barrel is like die cast, so I imagine there's only so much you can do with that. Can't really see just how far down the barrel the paint goes. It seems to go down far enough for it to be alright. I mean, I can kind of see that there's like a little bit of... It starts to kind of fade out. Maybe about half an inch, quarter of an inch into the barrel. But I mean, it doesn't need to be painted all the way through, because that's not how you're going to be looking at this. At least it shouldn't be how you're looking at this. Yeah. Mightron's gun mode is pretty cool. The trigger, it is also a little weird how the trigger, there's like that gap there. But again, I'm not sure how much of that is normal. I don't know if any of it's normal. But yeah, I mean, he looks cool for being a gun. Yeah, I kind of wish he was less convincing because I can't take him anywhere to play with him, like I said. But he is neat. Really nice silver, really nice black. Good breakup of the colors. Yeah, this is a very, very nice alt mode for Megatron. Mightron, Supreme Leader Mightron in his robot mode is really nice. I mean, this is like just incredible to me what they were able to pull off here. Granted, not a huge toy or cartoon nerd, so this is just going based on what I remember, not like anything, hugely specific, but just overall, this looks fantastic. I mean, it's Megatron, I mean, but it's just the silvers, the blacks, the reds kind of sprinkled throughout. The colors are great. The sculpt is fantastic. I mean, just the silhouette of that is very imposing. Boxy in all the right places. It's so neat. And, I don't know too much. I don't remember too much about his midsection detail, but that looks pretty darn close to what I do remember. And even if it is wrong, it still looks good. And it's just, so cool. And this guy's transformation is really neat too. I love the engineering they did with the legs and the arms, where everything kind of folds out and just bulks up. It's really neat how they did that. So yeah, there is just I can't just gush on it forever. But no, he looks really, really good. Like, some of this detail is stuff that was visible in the gun mode, like his chest here, and some of this stuff along the arms. You can see along the back here, there's the safety. And yeah, his back is the one thing that I wasn't entirely... Like, I was a little about when I was looking at the images of him. Because ultimately I was deciding between Mightron and the Make Toys Despotron. And yeah, his backpack isn't the cleanest, but it, it's okay. And I mean, when you look at him from the front, it just looks great. Like where he's got the gun barrel right over his shoulder and all that. It's so cool. Yeah. I mean, it's really great how they were able to get the actual like hammer or whatever it is for the gun like to split apart and form on the shoulders like I'm assuming it's supposed to. The fact that for as thin as the feet can become to fit into the grip, they actually do bulk out pretty well. And they have little tiny bits of added detail on there. Well, not added detail, actual detail. I think it's great how the thighs bulk out. I think it's nice that they put some detail on the inside of the legs too, because that's not anything you're going to see in gun mode. Like the way that some of the gun grip actually becomes the skirts around his hips and the little plate here. It's all really nice. He's just, I don't know, he's just like, there are certain parts that do seem a little bit maybe scrawny-ish. Like from the front, his legs are definitely thicker than they would be if they didn't transform the way they do, but they do seem a tiny bit on the thin side, at least down here. But I'm totally okay with that, honestly, because the rest of him looks so freaking cool. And these hands, I'm not super big on these hands. I mean, the look is good. Try and bring this, come on, very tight ratchets there. So I mean, there is actually a nice bit of detail on these hands. Pardon me, on these hands. You can see like they molded in some nice bits there, and the fingers have a little bit of detail on them. But what kind of bugs me about these hands is just when you're looking at them from other angles, especially like when they're down like this, you can see they do look a little bit scrawny. And I mean, it's okay, but I don't know, it's like the hand just seems a little too thin, or the fingers a little too long. Like I feel like if they had either made the fingers a little bit shorter or made the hands a little bit thicker, it would have worked. But then if they did that, it probably wouldn't be able to transform the way it does, because there's barely enough room in there for any of this. And the thumbs, I think, like they only look good from certain angles. From other angles, like if depending on how you bend how you rotate the thumb, just because of the way it's built, it just looks weird. So yeah, the hands are not his strongest suit, but they look fine if you're just looking at them real quick. And honestly, the rest of him is so freaking cool. What else? Like, why is that going to be? Like, that's not going to be what stops you. Speaking of the rest of him being so freaking cool, that head looks fantastic. And again, I'm not a huge Megatron connoisseur, but that is a really, really nice looking head. Just need to put that in like a, propaganda style poster. It looks like some kind of dictator. But yeah, that is a really, really good looking Megatron. Honestly, I feel like this head looks better than the Takara Megatron. Speaking of, just to kind of briefly touch on what I was saying before about how I don't really have an interest in Takara's Megatron after this. I mean, it's just, this guy is very nice. Like, sorry about that, had an unscheduled interruption. So, he's bulky in all the right places, except maybe in the shin calf area, but honestly, because of how he transforms, I'm not 100% sure how they could have bulked those out anymore. And just like, everything looks so clean. ultimately from the front. Like, these thighs split in half to fit into the handle, and you can't even really tell. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of a seam there, but it could just as easily be, you know, just a thigh, like two thigh pieces that were glued together during the figure's construction. He's a very, very clean looking Megatron. And yeah, the back's not the best, but it's not that bad either. And just based on what I was seeing for the Takara version, it just doesn't look clean. Like, I just see these like bits everywhere, and it just doesn't, I don't really care for it. And yes, I will say, I will freely admit, if you look at Mightron from the side, and if you're looking up right around here, you can see that he's a little gappy right there, but I don't know, I just can't get over just how overall clean Mightron looks. He's very, very cool. I also really like how the scope actually, you know, you've got the gun scope and then you just whoop, and shorten it up a bit. I really like that. He is just really cool. I am not disappointed in the slightest, and honestly, he came with a bunch of accessories, like a sword that can turn into a scythe and an extra face and all that stuff, and I don't care enough to use any of them because he's so freaking cool as he is. Yeah. I have a couple of mechanical issues with him. Just, you know, one thing that a lot of people have mentioned, which is no different on mine, is if you try to turn the thighs, sometimes if I try and turn them, what ends up happening is these sections come out as part of the, like, they're supposed to come out as part of the transformation, but if I'm just trying to turn the thigh, I have to kind of push in while I turn, which is a little bit weird. And of course, there's the fact that his waist swivel is down here, which makes it difficult when you've got these skirts. But on the plus side, because of the transformation, you can also bend the skirts a little bit to kind of sort of maybe try and cover that up a little bit. Sort of. I don't know. I think he looks great just standing there, looking straight on. I do have one kind of disappointing thing, though. His right knee, for my figure, I don't think this is a common issue, but like, this right knee is a bit more straight. That's his left knee. Left knee, idiot. His left knee is a bit more straight. His right knee is it's bent slightly. And that's just kind of irritating, because when I have to transform him, I actually have to like pull forward to get things to move. And I don't really like that. I don't know why it's not lined up properly. But, honestly, I don't care. He's just so freaking cool. And I mean, yeah, I've messed around with posing him, and he is pretty darn posable. I actually had a pretty nifty pose with him with his scythe, but he doesn't really need it. He doesn't need to be, like, it's great that I can pose him, but this pose, I think, is just fine. But yeah, Mightron, he is just very, very cool. And he's got a little thing on his arm for Laserbeak, whenever I eventually get a Masterpiece Laserbeak. So yeah, that has been my look at DX9's Supreme Leader Mightron. He is so great, and I am very, very glad I ended up managing to get my hands on him. It was a Black Friday sale with like a $10 off coupon too, so yay. Totally worth it. Would have been worth it at full price. Don't care. He's awesome. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. As per usual, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Any combination of those three would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.